Hello, welcome to the garage, golf cart garage that is. I'm Tim, I work for Golf Cart Garage. We come here every week. If you haven't seen me before, if you have seen me before, you know what we do here. We go over some golf cart related questions. We interact with people in the live chat. Maybe we'll get some people in the live chat today. We'll see if we can help some people out, maybe save them some money. Let's see. I am a member of the Gearheads On Demand service. I'll talk a little bit more about that as we get started here. I'm going to give it a few seconds here to see if anybody joins in the live chat before we get started. Everything looks good. Okay, well, let's go ahead and get started then. Number one, I'll be checking on the live chat as we go along. My EZGO 96 TXT runs strong in reverse but loses power in forward. Well, I can tell you what I have seen before. Now, 96, you could have two types of electrical systems. And I am going to assume by what you're describing that you have a TXT, but it is a DCS. I'm assuming that you do have a run toe switch under the seat. And that controller was very weak, and that controller did some weird stuff in my shop. I replaced more of those. I've said this before. I've replaced more EZGO DCS controllers than any other controller. That's the bottom line. That's was the most common replacement over the last 15 years, or 20 years, was a EZGO DCS. I have seen a half-power DCS controller where everything was fine in reverse, and but it was really, really low and forward. So that would be what I'm leaning toward on that. Let's see. Number two, I have a PowerWise charger and it stopped working, but the batteries in the cart have not been charged in 2 months. What should I do? Well, if you have a PowerWise charger, that means your cart is a 36-volt cart. Since your car is a 36-volt car, I know that it has six 6-volt batteries. Your PowerWise charger is not going to come on if it doesn't sense enough voltage in your battery pack. So what I'm guessing is that your battery pack has gotten too low to turn the PowerWise charger on. It has to sense a certain amount of voltage in order for it to turn on. Now, the good thing is that you have six 6-volt batteries, and you can charge up your batteries individually, but you're going to charge them not individually. You're going to charge them 2 at a time, because two of your batteries connected in series, positive to negative, that would be in series, is going to equal 12 volts, and you could use a normal 12-volt charger to charge those 2 batteries up. You don't have to disconnect anything in your battery pack in order to do this either. I always get that question. So you don't have to disconnect anything. You just take your 12-volt charger, put it on the positive of the one battery and the negative of the second battery right beside it. Make sure those 2 batteries are hooked together with a cable, and that's your 12-volt connection. Charge those 2 and then go to the next 2 and then go to the next 2. That will help get your battery voltage up. If you want to verify that if that's the problem, you need to just put a voltmeter on your entire battery pack the way it sits and see what your voltage is. If your voltage is not above like 32 volts, then that's definitely why your charger's not coming on. You're trying to get it up to close to 36 as you possibly can. Let's see. Number 3. I have a 1990 G2 Electric. The thing is that I turn it on and it goes a little bit and then it stops, and the same thing for reverse. We check under the seat and those curly coils get really hot. I don't know what else it could be. The battery charge is complete, but that is all. It will move a little bit to the front, a little bit to the back, and stops. My question is it fixable or worth fixing? Thank you. Well, the good news is that there's not really anything in that electrical system, that wiring harness, in the way that your car works. Since it has those resistor coils that you were talking about, there's not really anything in there that's real expensive. So you just need to find where the problem is and go from there. Now, it could be a number of things. Now I'm going to assume, because of what you said about your batteries, that it's not your batteries. You said that your batteries are fine, so I'm going to assume that. Now, if that's the case, then it could be those coils you're talking about. Those are supposed to get hot, by the way. They get hot. That's the old-timey speed controller. The voltage and the amperage goes through those coils and it dissipates heat, and that's what regulates the speed of your car. Now, you could have a broken coil. It could be something as simple as that. One of those coils could be broken. You might need to take a look at them. You might need to replace that whole setup, all those coils. That's all readily available. You could replace them. Also, it could be something in your forward and reverse switch. Your forward and reverse switch could be not allowing the amperage to pass through, or it could be allowing a little bit to pass through, and as soon as you try to pass through more, it shuts down, because they do wear out over time. Those mechanical forward and reverse switches do. So that's where I would lean, either your forward and reverse switch or something to do with those coils. Let's see. Let's see, we got Karina Gonzalez on YouTube. What's up, Karina Gonzalez? Says, hi, Tim. Glad to have you. Let's see here. Number 4. I can't really read the... Let me see if I can get that bigger. Oh, yeah. Okay. I viewed a couple of videos on troubleshooting batteries and electrical systems and wanted to ask a few follow-up questions below. I have 6 8-volt batteries for a total of a 48-volt system. I have done a surface voltage check on all 6 batteries. 5 of them tested over 7.9, but one tested 7.85. Do I need to replace the 7.85 battery? Okay, we're going to take this question in parts because it's such a long question. Let's just talk about this first part right now. If I was to say that you needed to replace that 7.85 battery, I would be saying you needed to replace all the other ones too, because there's not a big difference between 7.85 and 7.9, because even the 7.9s are dead. That's as far as golf cart battery voltages go, on an 8-volt battery, that 7.9 volt battery should be 8.37 or something like that. There's a big difference between 7.9 and 8.37. 8.0 is even considered dead if your golf cart battery was reading 8.0. So that's the first red flag right there, is that you only have 7.9 volts and 7.85 in one. That's the first red flag to your issue. That right off the bat, that makes me think that you might have a charging issue, that your golf cart may not be getting a full charge. That's what it says so far to me. So let's go to the next part. Is there a way to check a club car battery charger? My charger is all of a sudden stopped working. No lights or click when I connect it. The only thing I noticed, this occurred after I found 4 of my batteries low on water. All right, just as I said just then, I'm suspecting a battery related issue, either non-charging or some kind of issue, and now you're telling me you had 4 that were low on water. All right. The next part. The first indication I have a problem was I noticed that my battery system charge indicator dropped from full to 1/2 charge on my last trip out, which is very unusual. On that same trip, I noticed a few times where the charger chugged a little bit, the cart chugged a little bit after charging all batteries, 2 at a time per Golf Cart Garage video. I checked each battery surface voltage and then number 1 above. I took the cart out for a spin and it ran fine until I drove 200 yards, at which point it chugged back and forth heavily. I then got it back in my garage quickly, where I'm now trying to figure out what to do next. Okay. That was number 4. Well, here's some of the key points. You had the key points to your situation. Your battery voltage is low, 7.9 volts. You found 4 batteries that were low on water, or I'm not even sure how low they were. The charger's not working, and you mentioned the word chugged. All of that is battery related symptoms. having to do with your batteries. The 200-yard trip, everything was working fine, and then it dropped down. That's a battery-related symptom. You got a battery dropping out. That's what happened there. That's my opinion, of course. That's what it seems like to me, is that you have a battery dropping out. Now, and you even use the correct term when you're talking about surface voltage. So you know that surface voltage is different. I mean, surface voltage can be very deceiving. When you take the battery readings off of a battery with a voltmeter, you are getting surface voltage. A bad battery can show decent surface voltage, and as soon as you put it under a load, boom, it'll drop down really low. That's what I suspect is happening to you, that you've got some batteries that are dropping out under a load. Okay, Karina says, I need your help. I bought an EZGO cart. It has new tires on it with a lift kit. It rides rough. I want to know if you have a soft knobby tire for a softer ride. I don't know if it's the lift kit, tires, or both. If you have a tire that would soften the ride. Well, the easiest way to soften the ride is to adjust your air pressure. You know, you like play with your air pressure. All golf cart tires, they have a recommended maximum air pressure setting written on the outside of the tire. That doesn't mean that you have to run it at maximum all the time. That would be only if you had the golf cart full, were riding around with a full load, like 800 pounds of stuff on there, you and someone else and whatever else to equal 800 pounds. That would be when you would need to run max pressure. But if you're running around by yourself or something, there's no reason that you have to run max pressure. So you can adjust the air pressure. The thing nowadays, though, the big trend is that you have these low profile tires and rims. Well, when you have a bigger rim and a lower profile tire, that gives you even less room to adjust air pressure. So if you want to go to the opposite end of the spectrum, go with a regular golf cart size tire with a bigger, wheel. Go with a regular 8-inch wheel with a bigger tire. Then you have more room to adjust your air pressure and kind of play with your ride a little bit more. Also, tires come in 2-ply, 4-ply, and 6-ply. Now the 6-ply are going to be a little bit harder. The 4-ply is a little softer, and then 2-ply is a little softer than that. But all of that in conjunction with going with an 8-inch rim with a taller tire, it give you a little bit more air pressure to adjustment, because there's not really anything you can do to the suspension in order to make it a softer ride. Now, number 5. The golf cart is being left in the garage for the winter, no heat. Should I take out the batteries so they don't freeze, just remove the water, hook it up to the charger as is, or none of the above? Well, the answer to that is it depends. It depends on your charger and the characteristics of your specific charger. And don't remove the water. No, that one's out. Don't remove the water. That's not water. That's acid. So you don't want to play with that. So leave that alone. Just come up with a plan to keep your cart fully charged, or as near fully charged as you possibly can. Fully charged batteries are not going to freeze. You're not going to have to worry about the water freezing or the acid freezing in the batteries, as long as you have a plan to fully charge the cart. Now, you have to have, if your cart is a club car, 48 volt club car with an OBC, just leave your charger plugged in and it'll come back on after a certain amount of time. If you have a Summit 2 charger with storage mode, it does basically the same thing, so that you don't have to do anything if you have those two. If you have the type of charger that when it shuts off and doesn't come back on, then you're going to have to come up with a plan to somebody to go out there in the garage and unplug it and plug it back in. Every couple of weeks or so might be adequate. You just need to recharge the cart. You just have to have a plan, some type of charging plan. You don't need to do anything with your batteries. You don't need to disconnect them. I mean, they're not going to freeze as long as you have a plan to keep them fully charged. Let's see. Looks like in Facebook we got George. What's up, George? Just had my 𝗚𝘂𝘁𝗃𝗲 controller go bad and it kept blowing up my solenoid. Well, that's unusual. That's a very good controller. And he also says, are there higher end shocks that make a smoother ride? I get that question a lot, George. There's really not. We have heavy duty shocks. There are heavy duty shocks available, but they don't make a smoother ride. They actually make it even stiffer. And a lot of people are under the misconception that the quality of the ride on a golf cart is directly related to the shocks. That's not exactly true. It's not as technical as an automobile. A golf cart is not the suspension system is definitely not near as high tech as an automobile suspension system, where the quality of the ride in an automobile is sort of dependent on your shocks sometimes. Well, a golf cart just sitting on leaf springs. It's the old-timey, setup. Golf carts still have drum brakes. They have leaf springs. That's 20, 30-year-old technology in the automobile world. So the quality or the smoothness of the ride is going to be dependent on your leaf spring, how stiff your leaf spring is, and the squishiness of your tire, the air pressure in your tire, just like we were talking about the question previously. And the shock is really just there. See, a golf cart shock, you can pull it open and you let it go and it stays open. You can push it closed with your hands and you let it go and it stays closed. They're not forced down. They're not holding your golf cart up in any way when your golf cart is sitting there. They're not doing anything. They're just sitting there. Your leaf springs are holding your golf cart up. The shock is just there just to dampen the blow of the leaf spring, just to slow it down. So there's not any shocks that would help you smooth out your ride. It's mainly an adjustment with air pressure and tires, to smooth out the ride. Let's see. All right, we're going to go to number 6. I have an EZGO TXT PDS. I have replaced all battery cables, the motor speed sensor, throttle sensor, solenoid, and resistor. Cart used to go 21. Now it won't go over 5. I got to go about 18 on one trip after the resistor, but then the next time I went back to the 5. Not sure what to do next. Well, your symptom sounds like a speed sensor. That's exactly what it sounds like. Now, I have, I've gotten this question before, and the more that I dive into the questions, anytime someone asks me a question, I always have questions back, So when a customer describes a symptom to me or of their golf cart, I have several questions that I have to ask them in order to make sure that I'm understanding everything correctly. And the more I dive into it with some customers, I find out that the speed sensor or whatever they said they replaced, I said they replaced their ITS, which you call throttle position sensor. It's on your cart, it's going to be the ITS. Or they say they replaced their speed sensor, and then it ends up they're talking about something else. Well, a lot of times I'm finding that they have replaced their speed sensor just like they said, but they replaced it with one of those very, very inexpensive ones that you can get off Amazon and eBay. There's lots of really, really inexpensive parts available for golf cars on Amazon and eBay, but kind of get what you pay for is what you'll find out. Some of them they're just not very good quality at all. So that would be my first question about some of the parts that you say that you replaced. But other than that, your symptom sounds exactly like what a speed sensor issue would be. Let's see. Looks like we're good there, and we're good there. Now number 7. If an 8-volt DC battery is reading 8.33 DC volts, has it been overcharged? If the answer is yes, could that cause a battery terminal to melt without there being a direct short? No, that is not. No, first of all, no, that's not overcharged. That could be a number of things. By the way, that's really, really close to a fully charged reading. So if you're a fully charged 8-volt battery will read, like it could read 8.37 or somewhere in that range. You need to check on that for your particular battery. You go to the data sheet on your particular battery and you'll see what a fully charged 8-volt battery of your brand will read. And so, but anyway, it could be also your voltmeter could be reading a little bit high. What I have found on voltmeters, so a lot of them I've seen over the years, the handheld voltmeters, when the battery, you know, they run off a 9-volt battery inside, when that battery gets low sometimes, they'll start giving funny readings. They'll either read too low or they'll read a little bit too high before the battery goes completely dead. So you need to make sure about that also. But no, the answer is that it's not going to be an overcharged battery. And even if it was, if the battery would dissipate and it would go back to the normal state, and it would not cause a melted terminal. Melted terminals on batteries 99% of the time are going to be caused by a loose connection that builds up heat over time and continues to get hotter and hotter because the connection gets looser and looser, hotter and hotter. The amps are going through it, trying to go through that loose connection, and it ends up getting that lead hot. That lead starts getting soft and starts melting under heat. That's what's going to cause that to happen. Okay, number 8, then I'm going to check over here and over here. That looks fine. Go to number 8. 2007 club car. We only use the cart on holidays. What's the best way to maintain the batteries? Leave it on the charger. We have a charger that ramps to off as it charges. Let the batteries drain to half, then recharge, or drive it around for no reason except to drain the batteries down on some frequency. 2007. Well, if your 2007 is a 48-volt club car, then that means it has an onboard computer, and you're not going to have to do anything. Well, you'd have to keep track of your electricity blinks, because if your electricity blinks, that whole 14-day coming back on thing, that's out the window. So at least you're aware of what you need to do. You're ahead of the game here, because you're aware that you need to do something about your batteries because your car is going to be sitting. So you either need to get a charger that like the Summit 2 that has a storage mode like we talked about. You need to see if you're confident about your electricity but not blinking, then your charger you have will be fine. Or you can do what you said. Either method, any of the methods that you provided would work. They would be fine. You drive the car every now and then recharge it. That'd be fine. Or just recharge the car every now and then. That would be fine. That would work also. Anything to make sure that your battery pack is, you know, every couple of weeks or every month or so, make sure that it's fully charged, and then you should be fine for extended periods of time if you could keep that up. Number 9. Was running great, then wouldn't go. Messed with some wires out of the key switch, drove it again, then quit, and won't run. Batteries are good. It clicks when the pedal is depressed, but no forward or reverse movement. It's a 92 36 volt. Used around the house on about 6 acres. I believe I remember speaking with this person this past week on this question. I think that was a GHOD call, a Gearheads on Demand call, if I remember right. And we talked about his issues, and it's a 92 could be either a resistor cart or a controller cart. I wasn't sure about that, but his was definitely, what did he say there? Did he say resistors? Then it quit, the pedal is depressed, no forward and reverse. I believe it's a 92. Okay, this he doesn't say. Well, the man I was speaking with, it was a controller cart. So if it's a controller cart and your solenoid is clicking and nothing's happening and it's not moving, it very well could be your solenoid or it could be your controller. So we talked about how to bypass the solenoid to eliminate that, and he was going to do that test to try to bypass the solenoid and see if it made any change. And if it did, then we'd replace the solenoid. If it didn't, then we were going to do the motor test and eliminate the motor. I talked to him about how to do the motor test using a 12-volt battery and some jumper cables and a single battery cable to do a jumper. You know, then we could eliminate the motor. So what you've done there, if you eliminate the solenoid and you eliminate the motor, well, guess what's the only thing that's in between those two is the controller. So that's why you do it that way. That was number 9. Let's see here. We're going to go to number 10. My LED headlights work some of the time. The front driver's side light does not come on periodically. Not sure why. It has a solid connection with electrical tape to help protect it. Not sure how to fix this. Well, the good news about about headlight systems is that they are on a completely separate 12-volt circuit that is that doesn't have anything to do with your cart running or anything like that. Usually they come with their own wiring harness, a completely separate wiring harness that's added on to your cart, but it is only added to your batteries, either your voltage reducer, or if it's a gas cart, straight to your battery, and then the wiring harness goes out and goes to the lights. So anytime I had an intermittent problem with headlights or trying to figure out what that is, what I would do is I would wait till they were off and make sure the switch is on, turn the headlights on, and make sure the light's out. Then I would start going and grabbing the wiring harness, whatever wiring harness came with the headlights. Just start moving the wiring harness around and watch the headlight and see if I can ever get it to flicker, or the headlight or the tail light or whatever one is intermittent. See if I can make it flicker, like wiggle the wires around the headlight where you said you had electrical tape connection, wiggle the wires in that area, wiggle the wires close to where the battery is connected to either the battery or the voltage reducer. Just move things around with the headlights on and one of them off and see if you can make it blink or see if you can make it come on. And if you do, you found the right area. That's about all you can do, because you start trying to do it real precise with voltmeter readings and it's not going to have them. If it had the voltage, the light would be on. So it obviously doesn't have the voltage. So that's why you need to move things around and see if you can find where you're losing connection. Let's see. Doesn't look like we have anybody on YouTube or Facebook right now. So we'll go into the tip for this episode. Well, don't forget, before we get into the tip, if you don't know who I am Tim with Golf Cart Garage. I am a member of the Gearheads On Demand service. Gearheads On Demand is a service where you can schedule an appointment to talk with me on the phone about your golf cart related issue, whatever it may be. I may have seen it before. I may be able to help you repair it yourself. I may be able to give you some advice. If you're interested in that service, just click on the link in the description and it will take you to the scheduling page where you can pick out a scheduled time for me to call you, and I'll talk to you about whatever it is that you got going on and see if I can help you. You can also, when you schedule, you can also pick a video session if you think I need to see it. If you think I need to see what you pick a video session, and I'll be sending a link to your camera, to your phone, and then when you hit the link at the scheduled time you picked, I'll be able to see what you're pointing at. So if that's something that you're interested in, feel free. And also, if you like this content, this golf cart content, please comment, like, and subscribe. That will help also. Let me see if we got anybody. Doesn't look like we have anybody else, so I'll do the tip for this week. Okay, here's the tip. This tip is for people with golf carts that still have lead acid batteries. Lots of lead acid batteries out there with the price of lithium. Price of lithium batteries is pretty high. It's come down. It's a lot more reasonable than it used to be, but it's still higher than a set of lead acid. So there's lots of people still running lead acid batteries. When I used to sell golf carts to my customers, I would always say that are you going to be charging your golf cart in your garage? And usually the answer is yes. It was a lot of people that would charge their golf cart in their garage, just like where their car is at, and the door's shut and everything. Well, if that's the case, just make sure that you have adequate ventilation. Now, a closed garage is adequate ventilation. That's adequate ventilation, so don't worry about that part. But I do like to see people, when they charge their golf cart, I like to see them raise that seat a little bit. Like in your garage, you probably have a basketball or a bucket or something. Well, pick your seat up, your golf cart seat, put a basketball under there, and that way the seat won't close. Well, that gives those batteries, because batteries, they gas, it's a toxic gas. You just don't want it to be isolated in a concentrated area, and it can get isolated up under the seat of that golf cart. So I always feel safer when I charge an electric golf cart, especially if it's really, really low and it's going to charge for a long time. Put something to block that seat open and just let that dilute, let that gassing dilute. Now you don't even have to worry about that with lithium batteries, but that's with lead acid. So anyway, that's the tip for this week. Other than that, I believe that's going to be it. I'm just checking just to make sure before we get out of here. But yep, I believe that's going to be it. I will see everybody on Thursday. Just remember Tim Tuesday, Thursday. If you are subscribed, you'll automatically be notified, so you don't even have to think about it. But if you want to remember it yourself, then Tim Tuesday, Thursday. But in the meantime, comment, like, and subscribe. We'll see everybody Thursday. Garage is now closed.